Thank you. For our next question, we'll start with Mr. Weiss. Do you support HB 1230, and what changes, if any, would you like to see made?
I do like the idea of House Bill 1230. Economic development is shifted to the state. One of the things that I've heard, and this is from House and Senate, is that when you propose a bill and want to spend money, you're supposed to come up with money. That's not what 1230 did. They just took funding that was already going to the general fund. And if you're cutting the budget in other places and propose to spend more money somewhere else, you should come up with funding for that on its own. If it had enough merit, there should have been some way to be able to do that. As far as the economic development, where you're giving money to companies to expand or come in the state, I believe in the free market system. Some of the businesses that are already here kind of objected that. They didn't get any money to come here. They don't get any money to expand. So why should their competitors have, get the leg up? If these companies do make a real commitment to the state, then perhaps it could be something that I would take.
Thank you, Mr. Allen.
Consider 1230 as potential unit. Here we're told that it's not an educated, not have an educated workforce to bring in big business that would actually lead. And yet, you can't educate if there's no money. The problem with it is very basically that we're taking the funds of the contractors' excise tax out of the meeting to take that fund to drop it into the what I would say that has
Thank you. Mr. Schreiber.
Why do I not like this bill? I can tell you why. This is the old incentive businesses to come to your state through money bonuses. It's like being a retailer who's competing on price. You're shooting yourself in the foot twice. You're shooting yourself in the foot first by reducing the amount of funding that you get from those businesses, while your neighbors, competitive states, aren't doing that. It costs all of the states the same operate. If what you're doing to attract someone is giving them a great low price, all you're doing is having less income for your own state. The second way you're doing it is those businesses that would be attracted that apply that kind of program are businesses that are struggling to compete with those other states. They're looking for a way to compete in an easier manner. And finally, I've tried to use this, the incentives that the state has in place to draw businesses that I worked at to move here. They looked at all of the offerings. They looked at the low labor rates. They looked at the low cost of living. They looked at the low tax structure. They looked at the lack of a corporate tax. They weren't interested. There were other things that they were interested in. They were interested in access to travel facilities. They were interested in the skilled labor force. They were interested in the impact the climate would have on their leisure activities with their family and those sort of things. Some of those things we can't do anything about. Some of them we can. Now, we need to put more money into developing the sorts of things that will attract businesses to come here. It's not just money.
Thank you. Mr. Lau.
I think one of the good things about the 1230 bill is that it actually changes the tax situation that we had before, which was to automatically give tax rebates to certain large projects that came in, regardless whether that was actually needed to attract the project or not. So in that sense, it's good because it gives us a little bit of discretion, because there are situations when we do need to do something different to attract a business, to move here or to set up certain types of infrastructure and things like that. But with any bill like this, I'm always very cautious because I cannot stand any type of favoritism or corruption or pay to play, anything like that. And I do not want to see any of that going on here. So there's possibly things we should do to strengthen those restrictions and make sure those kinds of things don't happen. We do need to invest money in economic development because we have a unique situation in South Dakota. We have a great business environment, so as other states are going bankrupt, they're actually looking to places like South Dakota where they can be successful. So we do have that opportunity with businesses looking to move, and I think we need to be able to capture those opportunities. But we also have to be careful in how we go about that so it doesn't turn into a boondoggle or not redirecting funds that could be used better elsewhere.
Thank you, Mr. Allen.
Well, I kind of love this bill, kind of hate this bill. I'm all for economic development. I voted greatly within the community that I live in by being a member of the local economic development. And I pushed the city council to push money in it. I believe the state needs to do the same thing as properly fund something like the large project fund. I do believe that we need to be able to offer incentives to different businesses that are out of state and some that are in state that might make the proper expansions. They all obviously need to be the proper incentives, but I do feel that we do need to have that ability as a state. One problem with it is the 22% of the contractor's excise tax, and I will be guaranteed to that fund every year, which was this year about $9 million. And I have a little issue with just guaranteeing a fund that kind of money, but whoever's in charge of that fund for that particular year or through that administration, just think that they have $9 to $14 million worth of money that they're going to spend every year. So that is the part that I'm not real happy about that bill. If I'm lucky enough to make it to the state, I would like to have some discussions with the governor and maybe make some changes to that.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. 30 seconds to respond.
One of the things that makes me nervous about the economic development fund is we need specific guidelines as to when it will be used and transparency. Apparently, the pipeline that came through South Dakota got a tax break, several $1 million, and I saw no reason for that. Coming through the state end. A few in North Dakota and Nebraska, they don't have overruns. So there's no reason for that.
Mr. Allen.
Just brought it up. That was one of the major drawbacks I see in this bill. With the pipeline going out, and also if you remember some folks in there, they don't want to be using taxpayers' funds on the state, something that much probably wouldn't do. So I think that again, with all the balance that we have to have some responsibility on monitoring this.
Thank you, Mr. Schreiber.
Well, one thing that's good is that the old incentive program is expiring. That worked really well for one particular type of industry at one time. That's the financial industry. You can't incent the manufacturer to move there because their raw materials are have to be shipped here from elsewhere, and their product has to go somewhere else. It's simply too costly. They don't have a market. There's no reason. You need to be sure that you're not just targeting all of this money in one industry. Currently, 96% of the businesses in South Dakota are small businesses. 74% of those are sole proprietorships, and 48% are work from the home. That's what works in South Dakota. That's what works for people. What we need to do is to find ways to fund increasing their ability to compete.
Thank you. Mr. Levin.
With this bill, I just want to ensure that we're not building up a large slush fund that's sometimes happening in any government. I think the best government is the one that's the most transparent, closest to the people. So we can't get into a situation where it's serving to somebody's friends, getting kickbacks or anything like that. So just having restrictions on how it's used, and then also making sure that it doesn't build up some huge amount when it can be used elsewhere, but I do support development.
Thank you, Mr. Ahmed.
Well, like I said, I believe the state needs to invest heavily in funding economic development. I'm just not so sure that this is the way to go about it.